What's up? It's your boy Carcino in here, and let's talk about it. You guys wanted a wrestling story, right? Well, I want to say this was during the Russo era, or right before the Russo era. Yeah, this is before the Russo era. You know, Bagwell was a wrestler he's a big guy, big husky guy. He always came around, started doing things that, many people liked. He was a big, tough guy. He never really had any character too much to him. He needed to stand next to someone that could really bring him out. His wrestling wasn't that great. But when they started giving him a microphone, he started to turn into his own. But his wrestling was a little sloppy. It wasn't as fluent. It wasn't as dynamic. But he learned how to be a great showman in the sport. And when they paired him with Scott Steiner, that really brought him out. Because he had broken his neck in a match. I don't want to suggest what it was, a pile driver or something, but his neck was broken. So he has to take a lot of pain medicines for his neck. Probably still to this day, because, that's painful. He goes through days where he could probably barely move. And it's going to be like that for the rest of his life. So he was always on painkillers. And then when they paired him up with Poppa Pump, and they're working out and, getting in shape, and, Scott Steiner is pumping everybody like, dude, you're on roids. You're on roids. Nope, you're on roids. And they were taking this new, this new supplement. And the new supplement was helping all the wrestlers. It helps tone you up. You're in shape. But that element that they had in there was laced with a steroid. Something that was banned in all factions of any other wrestling, whatever. It was banned. And any other sports like football, basketball, if you were playing those sports, you could not take the supplements that most of these wrestlers were taking. And they knew that these were illegal. They knew they were cheating the game. Some people were just flat out taking steroids. Some people were just taking supplements and working their butt off. But we'll get to the other side of what they were doing, because, they got these guys who are the dealers, who come to the gyms and they have these products and they start peddling them. So that happened in the other circuit. But with Scott Steiner, who was a gym rat anyway, this was just an enhancement for him. He spent hours in the gym. Even with the wrestling schedule he had, these guys found ways to stay in the gym but keep their body ready to go at all times. So when it came back to, let's say, what the rest of the guys do, like Pump and all these guys, like Bagwell, because he couldn't get himself in shape, he had his arms, he can only basically work out his arms and his legs a little bit, but it's mostly his arms. So once they got on the supplement, they started working out together. Then he started working on this thing. It burns up all the fat and, turns it to muscle, and next thing you know, Bagwell's got abs. Now he's like, look, I got abs back. It's been working out. So the thing with him and Poppa Pump was working tremendously. But there were certain type of elements that were happening with these guys because fans love to get in the way and want to test them. So it was a guy from a bodybuilding gym, and he was some type of thing. He was, I think, they was in Nashville. They had a show out in Nashville, and the guy from that gym who harassed them on the way to the event wanted to test Poppa Pump and get in the ring and fight him. Many people thought this guy was part of the act. Like, oh, this must be a new wrestler they bringing out. Is this guy, he's like, I'll kick both of your butts. He's pretty big. He wasn't there big, but he was big. So, after a match was over, this guy hops the rail and tries to run towards Bagwell and Scott Steiner. And he was going to talk. Bagwell went under his legs, I think. Basically flipped the guy up. Security came. Boom! Grabbed the guy. Scott Steiner grabs the guy and by the throat. And they just start wailing on this guy. The security and everybody's trying to talk, and Scott Steiner is really wailing on the guy. Like, this what you want? Huh? People think this is part of the act. They worked it in part of the act. Like, they start challenging the fans. Like, who wants to come in here and challenge Poppa Pump? They made it like a challenge or something, but that was real. Like, that guy actually came from the gym to challenge them. Bagwell was the first one to kind of meet him and like flip the guy over. And WCW, they just rushed. The security was rushing, and when they got there, Steiner was just pounding on the dude. Man. But yeah, Bagwell was a cool guy when you saw him do his performance, but a lot of people didn't like him. They thought he was an a-hole. He cursed a lot, had these outbursts, which I really heard about. I just didn't believe, because he always had the demeanor of a nice human being. But they was like, nah, him and Scott Steiner are kind of pricks. I'm like, wow. I never saw that. Never saw that coming at all. But anyway, back to the other people that was willing and dealing. Like, you listen to Lenny Poffo, Kurt Hennig, Ravishing Rick Rude, Chris Benoit. And that's just to name the few. Rick Martel. All of these athletes and many more, Eddie Guerrero, were all being peddled this cheat, And what this cheat was doing was turning everybody into superbots. Because they were trying to keep up with what was going on with WCW. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, all of these guys had found a new drug. They were really toned up. Everybody was super toned. It was turning your fat into muscle. Then after the Chris Benoit situation, you start seeing all those bodies get soft. Saw all those hard bodies get soft. Then you knew who the gym rats was and who were the guys that was really cheating. Then we start seeing people pass away because people didn't realize that the supplements they were taking were making them like an iron horse. And they couldn't compete with that. So with that being said, I'm trying to think how many of those wrestlers actually passed away. Randy Savage, Kurt Hennig, Ravishing Rick Rude, The Ultimate Warrior is gone. Who else is gone? Benoit, it's countless. Poffo didn't, but he's admitted that he was on that roids. He started taking it, and everybody was just congratulating him on it. This was something that was deadly, and once people started to die in the Owen Hart situation, which they felt was due to steroids, and they started to look into WWE, which was going to trickle down to everybody else. So now, even though it's not registered as a sport, they can't have these type of drugs. They have to do random drug testing for wrestling, or you will be suspended. So now they were under the regulations of, because it was going to cost the industry, the business, a lot of money, a lot of backlash, and a lot of government strife over these deaths in the ring, or deaths period in the business. And when you have a murder-suicide, that's nothing to play with. So on that note, I'm out. I don't want to I'm making it look like Buff Bagwell and Scott Steiner are the face of this. They're not. It just started off talking about them, so they're not the face of steroids and nothing like that. No. These guys actually worked hard and actually put in some work. They were actually in the gym. Steiner, more than anybody, he literally was a gym rat. Buff had to work out mainly especially when he broke his neck. So on that note, it's your boy Carcino. I'm out. Don't forget to make a donation to the page. Click the link in the description box. Leave me a message, email, and I'll get back to you. I'm out.